in the heart of Chicago's bustling Loop District, where skyscrapers pierced the cloudy autumn sky like forgotten promises, Jack Thompson stared out the rain-streaked window of his 12th-floor office. The city below pulsed with life commuters dodging puddles, food trucks hawking hot dogs, and deep-dish pizza slices butt inside. Everything felt frozen. At 38, Jack had built a solid career as a structural engineer, designing bridges that connected places people took for granted. But the bridge between him and his wife, Emily, had crumbled months ago, and he couldn't figure out how to rebuild it. They'd met in college, back when life was all about late-night diner runs for cheeseburgers and milkshakes, dreaming of a future together. Emily, with her sharp wit and kind eyes, was studying nursing at Northwestern. Jack remembered the way she'd laugh at his corny jokes, her hand slipping into his as they walked along Lake Michigan's shore. That was 10 years ago. Now, with 2 kids, a tier-old Lily and 5-year-old Ben, their home in a cozy Wrigleyville brownstone felt more like a battlefield than a sanctuary. Lately, conversations were clipped like telegrams from strangers. Picked up the dry cleaning. Ben needs new shoes. No, I love us anymore. Jack slept on the pull-out couch in the den, claiming back pain from long hours at the drafting table. Truth was, the distance started last winter, when Emily's shifts at the children's hospital stretched into endless nights. She came home exhausted, smelling of antiseptic and worry. While Jack buried himself in blueprints to avoid the growing void, flashback to their wedding day. Under a canopy of string lights in a suburban park, Emily, in a simple white dress, whispering vows that promised forever, through thick and thin, Jack, body and soul. He'd kissed her then, full of hope. But life had a way of thinning things out. Money worries after Ben's birth, Emily's promotion that demanded more time, Jack's quiet resentment building like unchecked rust on steel beams. Tonight, though, something felt different. A massive storm was rolling in from the west, the kind that turned Lake Michigan into a churning beast. The kids were with Emily's parents in Milwaukee for the weekend, leaving the house empty. Jack's phone buzzed a text from his buddy Tom, a fellow engineer. "Grab a beer after work? Looks like you need it." Jack typed back, "Rain check. Heading home early." Why? He wasn't sure. Maybe the storm outside mirrored the one inside him. Emily, meanwhile, juggled her afternoon shift, checking vitals on a little boy with a fever. Her mind wandered to Jack. Lately, she'd caught herself staring at old photos on her phone family trips to the Grand Canyon, where they'd hiked hand in hand, or simple picnics in Grant Park with apple pie and fried chicken, but pride kept her silent. "He doesn't see me anymore," she'd confided to her sister Claire over coffee last week. Claire, ever the optimist, said, "Talk to him." Regret's a heavy load. Emily nodded, but words stuck in her throat like unspoken apologies as the day wound down. Jack grabbed a bouquet of daisies from a street vendor, Emily's favorite, and a bottle of Cabernet from the corner store. Foreshadowing the night ahead, he felt a flicker of nervousness, like the first rumble of thunder. At home, the power flickered as he set the table with takeout from their go-to spot, ribs slathered in barbecue sauce, cornbread, and coleslaw. Emily walked in just as the rain started pounding the roof, her scrubs damp from the dash from the car. "You're home early," she said, surprise etching her face. "No accusation, just fact." "Yeah, thought we'd start." "Talk." Jack's voice cracked slightly, betraying the loyalty he still felt deep down. Emily hung her coat, the air thick with unspoken regrets. The storm outside howled, cutting the power with a sudden pop. Darkness enveloped them, forcing a confrontation neither expected. In the glow of emergency candles, they sat at the kitchen table, the food growing cold. Jack poured the wine, his hand trembling. "Remember our first date? That greasy spoon with the best pancakes?" Emily smiled faintly, a crack in her armor. "You spilled syrup everywhere. I thought you were a klutz." Laughter bubbled up, tentative but real. As the wind rattled the windows, Jack reached for her hand across the table. She didn't pull away. The night was young, and the storm was just beginning to unleash its fury. Trust, fragile as a spider web, started to weave itself back. But freedom from the past's chains? That would come later, in ways neither could predict. Asterisk, the candles threw long shadows across the kitchen walls, making the familiar room feel suddenly foreign. Jack's thumb brushed over Emily's knuckles, just once, like he was testing if she was real. She didn't move her hand. That small stillness felt louder than any words they'd traded in months. Outside, storm slammed Chicago like it had a personal grudge. Rain lashed the windows in sheets. Thunder rolled so deep, the glasses on the table vibrated. The power stayed dead. Emily finally spoke, voice low. I keep thinking if we just get through this year, things will fix themselves. But they're not. Jack swallowed. I know. Do you? She looked at him then, really looked. The way she used to when they were 22 and broke and believed love could outrun anything. Because sometimes feel like I'm living with a ghost, Jack. You're here, but you're not here. The honesty hit him harder than the thunder. He felt the old pride rise, the instinct to defend himself. But something in her eyes, tired, hurt, still hoping, killed it dead. He pushed his chair back, slow, deliberate, walked around the table, knelt in front of her like he was proposing all over again. I'm scared, he admitted, voice rough. Scared I've already lost you and just haven't admitted it yet. Emily's breath hitched. A tear slid down her cheek, caught the candlelight like liquid gold. She reached out, fingertips brushing the stubble along his jaw. I'm scared too. But I'm more scared of waking up 10 years from now and realizing we let it die without even fighting for it. Flashback. Quick, sharp. Last Christmas Eve. Jack coming home late from a site visit. Emily waiting up with Coco and the kids asleep under the tree. He'd kissed her forehead, distracted, already thinking about the next deadline. She'd turned away, hiding the disappointment. That was the first night he slept on the couch. Neither of them had moved him back upstairs since. Back in the flickering kitchen, Jack rested his forehead against hers. I miss you, Em. Even when you're 5 feet away, I miss you. She let out a shaky laugh that turned into a sob. God, Jack. I miss us. The storm chose that second to rip a branch off the neighbor's maple. It crashed against the side of the house like a warning shot. They both jumped, then laughed, nervous, real. Emily stood, pulling him up with her. For a moment they just stood there in the dark, arms loose at their sides, breathing the same air for the first time in forever. Then she said the sentence that changed everything. Remember the night Ben was born? Power went out then too. We were in that tiny apartment on Clark Street. No heat, just us and a brand new screaming baby. And we were terrified. But we were a team. Jack nodded, throat thick. We danced in the living room to keep him calm. Battery radio playing? Old Springsteen? Emily's eyes glistened. I want to feel that again. Like we're still a team. He didn't answer with words. He just pulled her in, slow enough that she could stop him if she wanted. She didn't. Her arms slid around his neck like they'd never forgotten the way. The kiss started careful, almost polite, then turned hungry. 8 months of loneliness and longing pouring out in one breath when they broke apart. Foreheads still touching, Emily whispered. Upstairs feels a million miles away right now. Jack glanced at the dark hallway, then back at her. We don't have to go upstairs. A candle on the table sputtered, throwing wild shadows as they sank to the living room rug. Hearts hammering louder than the storm outside. Hands rediscovered old paths. Shirts hit the floor. Every touch carried a silent question. Are we really doing this? Are we allowed to want this again? And every answer came back yes. They didn't make it far, just inside the living room archway. Backs against the cool wall, mouths fused like the world was ending, and this was the only safe place left. Jack's hands shook as he slid them under the hem of Emily's damp scrub top. When his palms met the warm skin of her waist, they both exhaled like they'd been holding their breath for a year. Emily broke the kiss first, eyes wide in the candle glow. Wait, are we? Is this just the storm talking? Jack's answer was to drop to his knees right there on the hardwood, pressing his face against her stomach, breathing her in. No, this is me remembering who I married. She threaded her fingers through his hair, nails scraping gently, and the small sound she made shot straight through him. He stood slowly, lifting her with him, her legs wrapping around his waist out of muscle memory. They stumbled toward the couch, knocking over a side table. A framed photo of the four of them at Navy Pier last summer crashed to the floor. Glass shattering, they froze. Emily's eyes filled again. That was my favorite picture. Jack set her down carefully, both of them staring at the broken frame. Lily grinning with cotton candy stuck in her hair, Ben on Jack's shoulders, Emily laughing so hard her eyes were slits. A perfect day none of them had referenced in months. Jack crouched, picking up the biggest shard. We can fix it. Emily knelt beside him, voice barely above a whisper. Can we? He looked at her then. Really looked. I want to try. More than anything. Thunder outside answered for him, long and low. Emily took the glass from his hand, set it aside, and pulled him down to the rug instead of the couch. Safer, she said. No creaky springs to give them away if the kids ever came home early. The logic was ridiculous and perfect. They lay side by side at first, fully clothed, just breathing. Jack traced the faint stretch marks on her hips through her shirt, the ones she used to hide from him. I love these, he said. Proof you carried our babies. Emily's throat worked. I thought you stopped noticing. I never stopped. I just got scared to touch in case you pulled away. She rolled toward him, kissing him slow and deep, tasting salt from tears neither of them bothered to wipe. Hands started moving again, but slower now, Reverend. Every button undone felt like peeling back a layer of resentment. Every inch of skin revealed felt like forgiveness. When her bra hit the floor, Jack paused, eyes roaming over her like he was seeing her for the first time. You're so beautiful it hurts, he said, voice cracking. Emily laughed through fresh tears. You're such a sap. Only for you. They took their time, mapping each other like they were 25 again, and had nowhere to be. When he finally slid inside her, they both stilled, overwhelmed. Emily's nails dug into his shoulders. I forgot, she whispered. I forgot how perfectly we fit. Jack buried his face in her neck, moving slow, deliberate, like he was trying to erase every lonely night with every thrust. The storm outside raged, but inside it was quiet except for breath and heartbeat. The soft rustle of clothes long discarded afterward. They stayed tangled on the rug, blanket pulled from the couch barely covering them. Emily traced the scar on his chest from a construction accident 3 years ago. I hated that you got hurt and I was on shift. I wanted to be there. I hated that I didn't call you more, he admitted. Silence settled, comfortable for once. Then Emily said the words that nearly stopped his heart. There's something I need to tell you. Something I did. That I'm not proud of. Jack's body tensed beneath her cheek. The storm, for the first time all night, went dead quiet, like the city itself was holding its breath. Jack didn't move. He just waited, every muscle locked, like one wrong breath would shatter what they'd just rebuilt on that rug. Emily pushed up on one elbow, the blanket slipping to her waist. Candlelight painted gold across her collarbone, but her face was pale. Last spring, she started, voice small, when we were barely speaking. There was a doctor at the hospital, Ryan, new pediatric resident. He listened when I talked. Made me laugh when I thought I'd forgotten how. Jack's jaw flexed, but he stayed silent. We went for coffee after a bad shift. Then drinks. Then, once, the word hung between them like smoke. Jack sat up slowly, pulling the blanket around his hips. Once, he repeated, flat. Emily nodded, tears already falling. It was one night, one stupid, lonely night in the on-call room. I stopped it before it went too far, but it still happened. I hated myself the second it started. I've hated myself every day since. The silence that followed was worse than screaming. Jack stared at the broken picture frame on the floor, Lily's tiny face smiling up through cracked glass. He finally spoke, voice raw. Did you love him? No, she said instantly. I was trying to feel anything except empty. It was the biggest mistake of my life. Jack stood, walked naked to the window. Rain streaked the glass like tears the sky couldn't hold anymore. His reflection stared back, older than he remembered. I want to hate you, he said quietly. I want to walk out that door and never come back. Emily's sob broke behind him. I know. He turned. But I can't, because I wasn't here, checked out first. I let work become my mistress. I let pride myself on providing, but I stopped providing you with me. He crossed the room in 3 strides, dropped to his knees in front of her again. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt like hell. It does. But losing you forever would hurt worse. Emily searched his face, terrified to believe him. You mean that? Jack took her hands, pressed them over his heart. I'm not promising it'll be easy. I'm promising I choose us. Tonight taught me I'm not ready to sign the papers. I'm not ready to divide holidays and teach Ben to different houses. I want to fight for this. For you, even when it's ugly. Fresh tears, but different now. Relief mixed with shame. She leaned forward, forehead against his. I'll do anything. Counseling. Total honesty. Whatever it takes. Jack kissed her, slow, deliberate, tasting salt and regret and stubborn hope. We start with truth. All of it. Then we start again. Lightning flashed, illuminating the room for one bright second. Their shadows huge against the wall, entwined. Unbroken, Emily whispered against his mouth. Take me to bed, Jack. Our bed. I don't want to be on this floor when we decide to save our marriage. He lifted her without another word, carried her up the dark stairs like he did the night they moved in. Laughing, drunk on cheap champagne and possibility. This time they were sober, bruised, but still choosing. In their bedroom, door closed, against the storm, they didn't rush. Every touch was apology and vow. When he entered her again, it was different. Slower, eyes locked, tears slipping into each other's mouths. This wasn't just bodies remembering. It was souls stitching themselves back together, thread by fragile thread. After, lying spent in the tangle of sheets that hadn't been shared in months, Jack murmured into her hair, We're going to be okay. Emily pressed a kiss over his heart. We're going to be better than okay. Outside, the storm began to quiet, like even the sky had decided to give them a fighting chance. The first gray light slipped through the bedroom blinds around. 5:47 a.m., neither of them had slept more than a few minutes at a time. They kept waking up to make sure the other was still there. Like children afraid the dream would vanish if they closed their eyes too long. Jack lay on his back, one arm under Emily's neck, the other tracing slow circles on her bare shoulder. She had her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat the way she used to when they were first married in the world. Felt unbreakable, Emily spoke first. Voice hoarse from crying and whispering half the night. I keep waiting for you to change your mind. To look at me and only see what I did? Jack turned his face toward her. I keep waiting for you to decide I'm not worth the mess. They stared at each other, raw and exhausted and weirdly calm. Then, at the exact same second, they both said, I'm not going anywhere. A laugh escaped them. Small, surprised, real Jack sat up, reached for his phone on the nightstand. 12% battery. Enough. He opened his calendar, started deleting things. Monday site visiting Gary. Tuesday lunch with the downtown client. Wednesday drinks with the guys. What are you doing? Emily asked, clearing the week. I'm calling in sick. We're taking the kids out of school tomorrow. Family emergency. She blinked. What kind of emergency? He looked at her dead serious. Saving our family. That's an emergency. Emily's eyes filled again, but she smiled through it. I've got 3 weeks of personal days saved up. I'm taking them all. Jack leaned over, kissed her slow and soft. Good, because I'm not letting you out of this bed until we figure out how to be us again. They made love once more, sunlight creeping across the sheets now. No thunder to hide behind, just the quiet honesty of morning. It was gentler, almost shy, like they were learning new badas that belonged to the same people they'd always loved. After, Emily padded downstairs naked to make coffee on the camp stove they kept for tailgates. Jack followed, wrapped a throw blanket around both of them, and they stood at the kitchen window, watching the city wake up. Tree branches down everywhere, sidewalks slick. But the sky already turning that clean post-storm blue that only Chicago does right. Jack rested his chin on her head. I'm booking us a counselor today. The one Claire recommended? Emily nodded against his chest. And I'm telling Ryan never to speak to me again. In writing. In front of HR, if I have to. Good, he said, and meant it. No jealousy left, just fierce protection. They ate cold leftover ribs straight from the container, feeding each other bites like newlyweds, laughing when sauce got on their noses. It felt ridiculous and perfect. At 8:03 a.m., the power snapped back on. Lights flickered, fridge hummed, the spell almost broken. But Jack reached over and killed the breaker again. Not yet, he said. We're not done being offline. Emily grinned, the first full, unguarded smile he'd seen in a year. You're getting bossy, Thompson. Get used to it, he growled. Scooping her up and carrying her back upstairs, by noon they'd showered together. Slow and soapy, talking the whole time, plans, fears, stupid little things they used to share without thinking. They made a list on the fogged mirror with her lipstick. Date night every Thursday, no excuses. Phones in a basket during dinner. Weekend away, just us, before Thanksgiving. Tell the kids together, we almost didn't make it. When they're old enough to understand second chances, when Emily's parents dropped the kids off Sunday night, Lily ran straight into Jack's arms like she sensed something had shifted. Ben clung to Emily's legs, shy at first, then giggling when she covered his face in kisses. Later, after bedtime stories and one extra glass of water each, Jack and Emily stood in the hallway outside the kids' rooms. Emily whispered, "Think they can tell?" Jack laced his fingers through hers. They're about to have the happiest parents on the block again. They'll figure it out. They walked back to their bedroom, hand in hand, and didn't bother closing the door all the way. Some things were worth leaving open now. Asterisk, 6 months later, early spring. The kind of Chicago morning where the air still bites, but the sun promises it won't for long. Jack woke before the alarm, the way he had every single day since the storm. Emily was Emily curled against him, one leg thrown over his, her breath warm on his neck. He stayed perfectly still, counting the tiny freckles across her shoulder, like he was afraid they'd disappear if he blinked. They never did. Downstairs. The coffee pot clicked on automatically. He'd bought the fancy programmable one just so they could stay in bed longer. The house smelled like cinnamon rolls because it was Saturday, and Lily had begged to learn how to make Grandma's recipe. Ben was probably already sneaking chocolate chips. Jack pressed a kiss to Emily's temple. She stirred, smiled without opening her eyes. Morning. Handsome. Morning, cheater, he teased. Voice soft. She swatted his chest, then left her hand there, feeling his heartbeat. Still beats for me? Faster every day. It kept every promise on that lipstick list and added new ones. Thursday date nights had turned legendary, deep dish at Pequod's. Walks along the lakefront when it was warm enough. Making out in the car like teenagers when it wasn't. Counseling every Tuesday at 6 sharp. Sometimes they fought in the car on the way there, always held hands on the way home. They'd learned words like emotional bid and repair attempt. But mostly they'd learned how to say, "I'm sorry and I choose you," without hesitation. Emily had transferred to day shift. Jack had turned down the promotion that would have meant more travel. Money was tighter, life was richer. The biggest change sat in a frame on their dresser, now a new photo taken on their weekend away in Door County. Both of them windswept, laughing, arms wrapped around each other on a rocky shoreline. Behind them, the lake stretched endless and calm. No broken glass this time. Lily's voice floated up the stairs. "Mom, Dad?" The rolls are ready, and Ben licked the frosting spoon. Emily groaned dramatically. "We made adorable little monsters." Jack grinned. "We made a family." They padded downstairs in mismatched socks. The kitchen was chaos in the best way. Flour on the dog. Chocolate on Ben's cheeks, Lily standing on a stool stirring like a pro. Jack scooped Ben up, blew a raspberry on his belly. Emily wrapped her arms around Lily from behind, kissing the top of her curly head. For a second, everyone was talking at once. "Can we go to the planetarium today?" I want deep dish for lunch. Daddy, will you push me on the swing, extra high? Jack caught Emily's eye across the mess and the noise. She smiled, soft, private, the kind that said everything they'd almost lost. Later, after cinnamon rolls and sticky fingers and the kids racing outside to the backyard, Jack found Emily at the sink rinsing plates. He came up behind her, arms around her waist, chin on her shoulder. You know what I was thinking about? He murmured, tell me. The night of the storm. When I carried you upstairs and you whispered, don't let go, she turned in his arms, suds on her wrists. You didn't, and I never will. He kissed her then, slow and certain, tasting cinnamon and coffee and forever. The kids' laughter drifted in through the open window. The dog barked at a squirrel. And somewhere down the block, a Cubs game roared on somebody's radio. Emily pulled back just enough to rest her forehead against his. We chose each other again, she said, voice steady and sure. Jack smiled, eyes shining. Body and soul, every single day from now on. Outside. Spring kept coming, stubborn and bright. The way love does when you give it half a chance, they'd almost lost everything. Instead, they got it all back, better, stronger, louder, sweeter, and on quiet nights, when the kids were asleep and the city hummed beyond their windows, they still turned the lights off sometimes, just to remember how it felt to find each other in the dark, because some storms don't destroy you. Some storms just clear the air so you can finally breathe again.